In February 1996, over 200 children in Japan were hospitalized within a 2-week period. Headaches, nosebleeds, disorientation. 4 of them never woke up. The only connection? They had all reached the same location in a newly released video game, Lavender Town. What you're about to hear has been systematically erased from gaming history. Medical records sealed. News reports scrubbed from archives. And the original audio permanently altered in every version released outside of Japan. But the frequency they tried to bury? Someone found it. And what it was designed to do changes everything we thought we knew about Pokémon Red and Green. This is the Lavender Town syndrome. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Nintendo spent millions making sure you never heard this story. Let's go back to February 27th, 1996. Pokémon Red and Green version launch in Japan. Within 72 hours, the games sell over 200,000 copies. Children across the country are glued to their Game Boys, exploring Kanto, catching creatures, becoming champions. Then the hospital admissions begin. It starts in Tokyo. A 10-year-old boy is brought to the emergency room complaining of severe headaches and pressure behind his eyes. He's been playing Pokemon for 6 hours straight. The doctors assume eye strain. They send him home, but he's not alone. Over the next 5 days, pediatric wards across Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto report a disturbing spike in children presenting with identical symptoms. Migraine headaches, irritability, insomnia. Some children report hearing a high-pitched ringing that won't stop, even after they've turned off their Game Boys. 3 children are found with nosebleeds in their sleep. By February 12th, the number has climbed to over 200 cases. 2 children in Osaka fall into unexplained seizures. And on February 15th, the first death is reported. And 1-year-old girl in Tokyo. The cause? Sudden brain hemorrhage. The media stays silent. Parents are confused. Doctors are baffled. But on the forums, the early Japanese BBS systems that predated the modern internet, players are connecting the dots. They're asking one question. Did your child reach Lavender Town? And the answer, in every single case, was yes. Lavender Town is unlike anywhere else in Pokémon Red and Green. While other locations are vibrant and inviting, Lavender Town is deliberately designed to unsettle you. The color palette shifts to purple and gray. The music, which we'll come back to, is jarring and discordant. And at the center of the town stands Pokémon Tower, a 7-story graveyard. This is where the game confronts you, perhaps for the first time, with death. You encounter the ghost of a Marowak, a mother Pokémon murdered while protecting her child. You meet grieving trainers mourning their lost companions. The entire location is a memorial to creatures who didn't make it. But here's what most people don't know. Lavender Town was a late addition to the game. According to leaked development documents that surfaced on Japanese forums in 2003, Lavender Town wasn't in the original design specs for Pokémon. The Pokémon Tower dungeon existed, but it was supposed to be located in a different town, one with a more neutral aesthetic. Sometime in mid-1995, lead composer Junichi Masuda submitted a new music track to the development team. The track was titled Shion Town, Lavender Town's Japanese name, which translates to Asta Town or Remembrance Town. After hearing the track, game director Satoshi Tajiri made an unusual request. Redesign the entire town around this specific piece of music. Why would a single music track demand such drastic changes to the game's geography and story? The answer lies in what was hidden inside the composition itself. Music in video games isn't just atmosphere. It's mathematically constructed waveforms playing through limited hardware. The Game Boy sound chip could produce 4 channels of audio, 2 pulse wave channels, 1 voluntary wave channel, and 1 noise channel. Lavender Town's theme uses all 4 channels to create what players describe as one of the most unsettling pieces of music in gaming history. But the original Japanese version, the Red and Green version, contains something the international releases don't. Binaural beats in the high-frequency range, specifically frequencies between 12,000 and 20,000 hertzes. Now, here's the critical part. Human adults typically lose the ability to hear frequencies above 15,000 hertzes by their mid-20s. But children, especially children under 12, can hear well into the 18,000 to 20,000 hertzes range. The Lavender Town theme in the original Japanese release contained several layers of high-frequency tones that only children could perceive. Adult players, beta testers, and developers? They heard the creepy music, but they were physiologically incapable of hearing what the game was actually broadcasting to children's ears. But it gets worse. In 2005, a user on 2channel, Japan's largest anonymous forum, posted audio files claiming to be the original Lavender Town theme, ripped directly from a first edition Japanese red cartridge. The user, who went by the handle Mu Ming, which means nameless, provided detailed frequency analysis. According to this analysis, the high-frequency layer wasn't random. It was a binaural pattern, 2 slightly different frequencies played in each ear that create a third phantom frequency in the brain through wave interference. The phantom frequency? 10.5 hertzes, precisely in the range of alpha brainwaves. Alpha waves are associated with relaxation and meditative states. But when artificially induced through external audio, especially in developing brains, they can cause disorientation, headaches, and, in extreme cases, seizures. The Lavender Town theme was literally altering the brain states of children. Now, some of you are thinking, this has to be a mistake, an unintentional artifact of early game development, poor audio programming, technical limitations creating unwanted harmonics. But there's evidence this was intentional. In 2010, a former Nintendo employee, whose name was never publicly verified, posted on a gaming forum claiming to have worked as a junior sound engineer during the Pokémon Red and Green development cycle. He described a meeting in late 1995 where Junichi Masuda presented the Lavender Town theme to Satoshi Tajiri and Shigeru Miyamoto. According to this account, Masuda explained that he had composed the track using psychoacoustic principles to create maximum emotional impact. He allegedly said, "Children will feel this music differently than adults. They will remember Lavender Town forever." The anonymous poster claimed that Miyamoto immediately objected, calling the composition too intense and requesting revisions, but Tajiri overruled him. Tajiri, who had poured his childhood obsession with insect collecting into creating Pokémon, allegedly insisted that the game needed to convey real emotions, including sadness, fear, and loss. The theme stayed, but here's where it gets genuinely disturbing. The same anonymous poster claimed that the Lavender Town theme was a test. A test for what? Something called Project Pocket Monsters Beta. According to this source, there was a planned feature in early Pokémon development that never made it to the final game. Players would be able to feel their Pokémon's emotions through the Game Boy hardware, specifically through audio frequencies that would induce corresponding emotional states in the player. Happy Pokémon would generate calm, pleasant frequencies. Poisoned or low-health Pokémon would create tension and anxiety. And Pokémon that had fainted? They would generate grief. The technology was supposedly scrapped because it was too effective. Playtesters became emotionally attached to their Pokémon to an unhealthy degree. Some children refused to continue playing after their starter Pokémon fainted, experiencing what developers described as genuine mourning responses. Lavender Town, according to this theory, was the only remnant of this abandoned system. A prototype frequency still embedded in the code. A forgotten weapon left armed in the final release, and it went off in February 1996. Within 3 weeks of the hospitalizations, Nintendo issued a silent recall, not publicly. There were no announcements, no press releases, no official acknowledgement that anything was wrong. Instead, they released a version 1.1 update of Red and Green in Japan, quietly replacing existing stock in stores. The only documented change? The Lavender Town music had been altered. The high-frequency layers were removed. The binaural patterns were gone. Every subsequent release, Japanese Blue, and all international versions, used this sanitized version of the theme. But they couldn't erase what had already happened. They could only bury it. Hospital records from February and March 1996 involving the affected children were sealed under Japan's privacy laws. The media reports that did exist were scrubbed during the transition to digital archives in the early 2000s. Former Nintendo employees who've been asked about Lavender Town syndrome either deny any knowledge or refuse to comment. The official position from Nintendo? The few times they've been directly confronted? Urban legend. No medical evidence links our games to any health incidents in 1996, but the parents remember. The doctors remember. And the children who survived? Some of them still can't listen to the Lavender Town theme, even the revised version, without experiencing severe anxiety attacks. In 2012, a Japanese podcast dedicated to lost media interviewed a now adult victim of the Lavender Town syndrome. She was 9 years old in 1996. She described playing Pokémon Red for the first time, entering Lavender Town, and immediately feeling wrong. She said, "It felt like the music was inside my head, not coming from the Game Boy speakers, but playing directly in my skull. I tried to leave the town, but my head hurt so much I couldn't concentrate. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. 3 days had passed. They told me I had been screaming about the white hand." The white hand. She's not the only one who mentioned it. Multiple children, when asked what they remembered before losing consciousness, described seeing a white hand reaching out from their Game Boy screen, but there's no white hand in Lavender Town. No ghost hand sprite. Nothing in the game that matches this description, unless they were seeing something that wasn't there. A hallucination induced by the frequency. A shared psychotic episode experienced by hundreds of children simultaneously. Or they were seeing exactly what the frequency was designed to make them see. Here's what we know for certain. In 1996, over 200 children in Japan experienced identical medical symptoms after playing Pokémon Red and Green. The only common factor was reaching Lavender Town. The music was altered in subsequent releases without explanation, and Nintendo has never provided an official statement acknowledging any health incidents related to their games. Here's what we can theorize. The Lavender Town theme contained frequencies specifically calibrated to affect children's developing neurology. Whether this was intentional or accidental remains unclear, but the effects were real, and they were severe enough to warrant a silent recall and permanent alteration of the game's audio. But here's the question that keeps me awake at night. If this was just an accident, an unintended consequence of pushing the Game Boy's audio hardware to its limits, why the cover-up? Why seal the medical records? Why scrub the news articles? Why refuse to acknowledge that anything happened at all? Unless it wasn't an accident. Unless someone wanted to know what would happen when you broadcast those specific frequencies directly into children's minds. What they would feel, what they would see, what they would become. Pokémon Red and Green sold over 10 million copies in Japan. Most players never experienced any symptoms. But those who did, those who were susceptible to the frequency, they heard the call from Lavender Town, and some of them never came back. The original Lavender Town theme still exists somewhere, buried in first edition cartridges, hidden in private collections, archived in Nintendo's vaults. If you ever find yourself holding a Japanese Pokémon Red or Green cartridge with a 1 version number, maybe don't plug it in, because Lavender Town remembers, and it's still waiting. Still listening? Then maybe you were meant to find this. Maybe you can hear frequencies others can't.